Okay, so this is part two of the lecture. Sorry about that, I accidentally stopped recording. From the video that we saw, it's clear to see that teaching gifted students does require at least three things that I picked up that I thought were very relevant, which includes the design, cluster groups by gifted or high achievement, and then creating opportunity for development. So some of those things I'm going to address with the supplemental things I've already added, and then there are some additional resources that I'm providing. So let's get started. Okay, first things first, cluster group. So I included an article for you at the end that explains what it means to create cluster grouping. So here's a brief explanation. Cluster grouping is a programming option or organizational model designed to meet the needs of gifted students in a heterogeneous classroom setting. Students in a particular year group who are identified according to the policies and procedures at individual school level are purposefully assigned to the same classroom with a teacher suitably trained in gifted education. So it's like purposeful clustering, kind of like if you come in a program as a cohort. They identify the population of students and then they purposefully move them together. The aim is to meet the intellectual, social, and emotional needs of these students with differentiated instruction and opportunities to interact with their intellectual and their mixed ability age peers. So it's a tag teaming. They're separated based on their giftedness, but they're merged within the general population of the students to give them the development socially and emotionally that they need. But they still get their differentiated instruction from a professional who is trained for gifted education. They will represent the top 5 to 8% of the ability and the year level and usually comprise around 20% of their nominated heterogeneous class. A higher number of gifted students, possibly due to a broader categorization of giftedness, may require 2 or more designated cluster classrooms. So this would be something that your school would have previously set up, or something that you can petition for them to set up, especially if you have a high population of gifted students. Next. So here are some 3 non-negotiable components of cluster grouping. Groups of 3 to 10 gifted students placed in heterogeneous classrooms, so they shouldn't be more than that. So if you have like 20, then that means obviously you would need to cluster classroom settings. And then differentiated curriculum and instruction within these classrooms for the gifted cluster. So they're not just focusing in on one content area, but they are getting all the varied classroom content needs that they would need in other general education areas, but at a differentiated pace or differentiated curriculum. And then I thought that this was super important. Teachers in these classrooms who have experience in gifted education are placed within these opportunities, and that they're continuously getting ongoing professional development and support. So super important that it's known that not every teacher is inept to teach gifted students or capable of teaching them. So it is imperative that we kind of consider what it means. And if you are interested, I know that one of you expressed being possibly exploring becoming a gifted educator, that you do get the certificate and also go through the classes to be sure that you're prepared for this type of environment. Okay, next, let's see design. So design was pretty interesting because there are a lot of resources. I'm just going to move this out the way. Sorry about that. A lot of resources out there that specifically talk about how to design curriculum for gifted students. So, and the article that I provided for you, it states, in examining the state of the art of curriculum and instruction for the gifted, it is clear that there is a multiplicity of approaches that are adopted wholesale for classroom use without adequate testing. So I thought that was really relative because what you're reading may not actually work. and what might be working may not be reported on, or may not have been something that you've identified as a model. So here are 3 models that I thought were super awesome to consider using if you are charged with teaching gifted students, or you are in an inclusive setting where gifted students are. The content mastery model, the process product research model, and the epistemological concept model. All right, let's take a look at each of these individually. So the content mastery model is specific to content. So it says content model tends to emphasize the importance of learning skills and concepts within a predetermined domain of inquiry. So gifted students are encouraged to move as rapidly through the content area as possible, which means that you would have to have developed a clear span of where they could go. So for example, they start off being diagnosed from the perspective that they enter into the classroom, and then they're pre-tested and then given appropriate materials to master the subject area segments prescribed. So in, say for example, a student was a 5th grader, they come in and they enter a language arts class, and they start off with the basic concepts overview, because 6th grade is typically an overview of language arts. They start off with a exam to see where they are, and then from there they could literally move into 12th grade English if that's where their mastery skills lead them. So it would be you having predetermined the proper diagnostic, and also having the content developed in that range, so they can move through and master their skills as appropriate to that subject area. I thought this model was pretty cool. I've used a little bit of it myself. I just didn't know I was using it in regards to some experiences I've had. But you would need to have a clear understanding of the other content areas. So one of the things I did as an educator was I taught at every grade level that I could possibly get into. So I've done 6th grade, 7th grade, 8th grade, 9th grade, a little bit of 10th with journalism, 11th grade, and I've just never done 12th, because I wanted to know where they were going and what they needed to know. The only area I didn't really do too much in other than preschool is elementary. So if I was to kind of like redevelop my skills, I would go down to the grade levels that are under. Okay, so in regards to the next, I think this one is the most particular to content. As we continue, like I said before we move on, you would have to have a really clear understanding of where the content is going in order to be able to appropriate the materials to master the subject area segments beyond the grade level. So that's one of the things that would require you to, like I was saying previously, kind of grow your skills. All right, next we have the process and product research model, which involves heavy emphasis on learning investigatory skills, both scientific and social, that allows students to develop a high quality product. It is a highly collaborative model that involves teacher, practitioner, student as an interactive team and exploring specific topics. So this would be pretty cool for a student who is socially gifted and making changes in the environments and the worlds around them. But it would take a particular mindset in regards to, I guess, thematic units of the curriculum that allow for exploration and research, explorative dynamics within it. So it will be like a really long year of research and exploration into particular subject areas. And this would have to be obviously a team kind of strategic planning. Let's see, next we have the epistemological concept model. So this one I thought was pretty interesting because it focuses on talented students understanding and appreciation of systems of knowledge rather than the individual segments of those systems. So it would be like teaching the student or exposing them to key ideas, themes, and principles within and across domains of knowledge. So for example, in language arts, we always study growth and development, and typically it's seen from a adolescent coming of age unit. In this particular concept model, you would develop a entire year around coming of age of or growth or development, and then you will look into science. You could then look into the beginning aspects of the development of different countries or the entire world. You will look at social dynamics and their growth and development, and you would tie it all together into one unit that focuses in on coming of age or growth and development, and that would be the thematic. That would be the thematic approach for the year. So here it reflects a concern for exposing students to key ideas, themes, and principles within and across domains of knowledge. So the focus would be on the truths and knowledge and beliefs regarding development and coming of age. And then you would integrate each of the content areas into this particular belief that you would teach the student for the year, or beliefs, because there's multiple, obviously. Final thoughts. So before we go into final thoughts, I wanted to give you some approaches that I was reading up on for differentiation strategies for gifted and talented learners in regards to the last bullet that we didn't really cover, which is number 3. I can't see. The screen's being blocked. Go back here. I think it's here. So create opportunity for development. So the way in which you create opportunity for development within yourself and also with the students would be by employing a plethora of strategies. Here are, and I'm going to add this in here so you can have it later, just so you have access to it, but it does require you to kind of go beyond just one approach and apply an assortment of them, only because it's not just one thing that will contribute to meeting the needs of your gifted students. So I'm going to put here differentiate strategies and add a link here because I didn't add that in. Wrong thing. Sorry about that. That's actually an announcement I have to add in to this week's announcements, because the thing that you're using to add your post and then a couple other things, that tool will be down. Okay, so I've added that in, and then so here you'll see how you can provide opportunities within content, process, and then product, and then the actual learning environment itself, which is why I liked this this strategy tool or website. And I'm not going to go into every simple thing, but they have opportunities for you to learn how to appropriate adaptations within the learning environment and every aspect of it. So the presentation of things, curriculum, organization of things, assessment, and everything. The next option that I have for you, or thing to consider when trying to provide possibilities for your gifted students, is with this list, gifted students recommendations for a teacher. So it gives you some kind of practical things that you can do to adjust really quickly or fairly easily to create more possibilities for the curriculum that you have. So it includes, number 1, the compacting the curriculum and providing enrichment activities within that classroom dynamic, implementing a multi-level and multi-dimensional curriculum, being flexible with the curriculum, making the curriculum student-centered, which is something that you can do from a constructivist approach, which is a particular design for a classroom environment, allowing students to pursue independent projects based on their own individual interests. So that could employ you to, or require you to employ a specific part in the unit where you actually have the students decide what they want to explore, also what they choose to study. That would be be risky, especially you'd have to provide some guidelines, obviously, for them to choose how they integrate their interests into that. But allow gifted students or gifted children to assume ownership of their own learning through curriculum acceleration. You've already heard that one. Try to maximize your students' potential by expecting them to do their best, and then teach interactively. And then there's a whole, this is a 26 list. So I've added this one already. I think if I haven't, it should be in the other resources, but I'll just add it really quickly just in case it's not there. And these should actually help you, especially if you're in a situation now where you're kind of like, well, I have a student who's gifted and I haven't done much for them. This could be a start, but this could also be something you could explore for next year, as you consider, if you are considering teaching gifted students, or this is an area that your school is exploring and adding to your plethora of responsibilities. So I'll make sure I add this here just in case it was not added, so that you can have access to it. And I think that's it for this presentation. Going forth, the next couple of things, you will have an opportunity to practice creating curriculum, and that is your group project. So I would recommend that you use these tools or these resources as tools to better the experience for you and your group. Please email or call if you have any questions, and thanks again for an awesome lecture from my end. Hope it was something useful for you. Okay, have a great day.